We are back with another review, and today I got a epic pickup for you, because today I got a Counterfeit NES Classic Edition here. So this is an all-time low scumbag seller situation here. Basically picked up this NES Classic Edition off eBay for, I thought I was getting a deal. It was, let's just say, way below $40. And in the box, everything was pictured, you know, that it was included, everything. Nothing was shy here. And, you know, everything looked legit. I was like, okay, seems pretty good. We'll see if it arrives. A lot of those times you buy something on eBay and you know that you got a good deal, and you know the person didn't get what they should have got for it because maybe the listing ended at a weird time and you just happen to be a crazy person who wants to stay up and, you know, stalk the listings to make sure you get a good deal. And sometimes they don't ship the item to you. So I was like, let's see if it arrives. It ended up arriving, lo and behold, and here it is. So without further ado, let's show you the counterfeitness of this. So I have an actual real one here. So I have the real one. We're going to compare the two together. So the outside box, what it appears to me is that they basically are either buying empty boxes and all the packing materials and then flipping the consoles separately and using the boxes, or what. But the outside is a Nintendo box, or they scanned it and printed it exactly perfect, or the same people are printing it for the counterfeits, but it's literally, you know, identical in regards to that. But I'll show you where the proof in the pudding is. So let's pull out the insert here, even the back of the insert. I mean, look at that. So all that is identical. So we got the box, we'll put that aside. And then the literature itself, this is identical as well, the poster. So either they just used a high quality scanner. I mean, look at that. Even the warranty form has the little QR code down there for internal support, and then you got, I mean, this is literally documentation from Nintendo right here. So, or they found the same type of paper stock and they just scanned it somehow, but I doubt it. I think, me personally, I think they just bought the packing materials and the inserts for this particular console. Everything about the literature in the box says yes. I mean, everything. So, just wanted to show you that. I know I got that out of the way, because I wanted to talk about the fact that those are at least the indistinguishable part. Now we have the console here, so let's take the console out. Ooh, what do we have here? Ooh, a knockoff brick. So there's our first sign that something funky's going on. Ooh, I used a brick. Look at that. It's got scratch marks on it. So yeah, you got a brick. That's the first indicator. Then we got the Nintendo controller, which we'll definitely look at. And what do we got down here? So right off the bat, I mean, look at this. The box is torn here. So it makes me think that this is, and it's torn here. Makes me think this has definitely been repurposed. I mean, I took this out. I didn't do this, taking it out. I mean, I didn't even do that right now, taking it out. But it definitely looks repurposed, if you would. It doesn't look like it's something that they are cranking out on a printing press. Let's just say that. Here we got the charging cable, which is clearly Chinese unbranded cable right there. Definitely is not a Nintendo product, no Nintendo branding whatsoever. And let's move on to the HDMI cord, which, again, another generic cable. No end caps. Usually there's little end caps on there. None of that with the knockoff brand. On the cable itself, no Nintendo branding. It just says high-speed HDMI cable. That's it. No Nintendo brand whatsoever. So again, I think they got the box, the packing materials, and they just literally filled it with the rest of their garbage, which is their knockoff HDMI cord, knockoff power adapter, and everything else I'm about to show you. But we can all agree that this stuff right here is clearly not Nintendo products. So far the box, the pack-in inserts, and the pack-in sleeve, the box sleeve, have all been Nintendo. Cords, not. So we'll go into the console in a second. Let's pull over here the Nintendo controller. So right off the bat, I could tell you just by looking at this that it's definitely not a Nintendo controller. First off, these gray bars along the middle here are the wrong color. This plastic is not the same quality, I guess you could say. You could even see that the D-pad here is off-center. I mean, you can literally readjust the D-pad. That's not something that's kosher for Nintendo. That's something that you can just slide around the D-pad like it's a hockey puck. And then let's check out the back here. It even says Nintendo. So they're legit stealing the mold. I imagine what they did was they probably remolded. I mean, look at this right here. Look at those little cracks in the plastic right here. See them right there? Very weird. They're stealing the mold because all this is all the same. But this one says Germany, so Frankfurt, Germany. But because it's got Nintendo controller, same font, CLV002, made in China. But then over here it says Germany, so interesting. And then you have the plastic, which just doesn't feel the same. Buttons are decently responsive. I haven't plugged the console up, but I imagine it's going to have everything on the console that's supposed to be loaded. Since it's a knockoff, I just don't want to plug it into my TV because I don't want something to short out or anything like that, especially the fact that it's clearly a knockoff, so I don't know what's going on. The A in start is a little wonky. It's just overall not a good knockoff. It's even got the R next to the Nintendo. The N in the Nintendo is weird. Just the word Nintendo looks funky. Let's check that out. See that? So now let's go to the... Okay, so we got the real one on the right here and the wrong one on the left here. So you can right off the bat see the coloration is different. Straight up off the bat, the coloration is different. The plastics are two different colors. And I'm going to do it side by side because if I show it to you straight up, it's not going to be noticeable. You're going to be like, what are you talking about? So let's put them like this, and let's look at this side by side. So first thing we're going to look at here is the real ones on the bottom, fake ones on the top. The numbers 1 and 2. See how difficult it is to read the 1 and the 2 here? The color isn't an exact match for the same color for that Nintendo chose. And it clearly is more difficult to see on the knockoff than it is the regular Nintendo. Now, you can also see the generic one has a different pin set on the controller ports here. You can see there's clearly a six-prong pin set because there's 3 on each side. You can see 3 on that side and then 3 on that side. Now, looking at the Nintendo one, there isn't that. There's only the connecting ports that are visible. See how there's just the 2 corner ones, the 2 opposite corner ones? This one has all 6 visible on the front. So that's a telltale sign too. So just the controller ports right here. Plus, the plastic is different. You can see this black plastic here has a matte finish. This has a glossier finish. It even sounds different when you rub it. Plus, the grit down here on the actual Nintendo one is a little bit more coarse around the controller ports. As you can see, it's more rough. And you can see up here, it's definitely not that equivalent. Now let's go over here to the bay. So over here you have the Nintendo Entertainment System logo, which is a little bit too high. You can see on the actual one, it's a little bit more centered, if not lowered, towards the bottom of the bay door. This one's more risen to the top, and it's not even the same distance from the side of the bay door. So that's definitely a little off. The color for the red that they chose is not as orange. They didn't choose as much of a red-orange. Because you can see on these two versus these two, this is more of a deep red, this is more of a red-orange. So the font's definitely off, and obviously the color of the plastics are completely off. Sides just allows you to see the color contrast, the darker gray on the bottom, the darker grays, I should say, for the knockoff one versus the lighter one. On the back here, now again, we're running into that same issue with the black plastic. Has a more matte finish versus a glossier finish. And then you have the little light gray inserts. I mean, they knocked that off perfectly. Same thing with the font back here. Darker font on the knockoff, lighter reddish font on the actual one. The HDMI logo appears the same. You even have the DC, it looks nearly identical. Even this gap right here with this little bar exists here too. So here's the real one with that little spacer, and here's the one on top here with that same little spacer right there towards the end. So what makes me think is that they actually took one, they probably took an actual one and made a mold out of it and then replicated that. Or they found some way to just basically get the schematics and print it and just use different materials when they were creating it. The right side, it looks like that. Here is the top. You can see the different colors clearly. Black is, again, different. More of a matte on the actual one versus a more coarse on the knockoff. So now let's go to the bottom, which is really where it started to come together for me. Alright. So, first things first, let's go with the barcodes here. We'll line these up for you, so you can see what's going on. Alright, so here we have the barcodes. So let's go with the actual one. So you can see that looks like an actual barcode that professionally was printed by Nintendo. Right? I mean, you could just clearly tell that has a professional print shop. Now this looks like it was printed on somebody's printer. It just doesn't have the same look. The font itself isn't the same. It's a different font entirely. The barcode isn't flush with the top of the sticker like it is in the Nintendo one here on the right. It's just kind of spaced into the sticker, and the sticker isn't even firmly pressed down. It doesn't even fill the entire gap like the Nintendo one does. And that was one of the things I noticed right off the bat here. Now everything down here is pretty much identical. Germany, support.nintendo.com, made in China, input, everything is, all the information is the same, but if you look, the subtle differences is going to be what really got to me, and it's going to be where the model is. Look at model CLVs-001. Here's a Nintendo one. You can see the difference between the 001 and the 001 on the Counterfeit. Definitely look different. The font itself appears to be the same, but there are such differences. Like the support Nintendo, the Frankfurt. Look on the Counterfeit one, you can see it just looks different. It doesn't read the same. That's something that really the first thing that set me off when I looked at the bottom here, and I said, well, the two zeros are too close to themselves. So I grabbed an actual Nintendo Classic Edition, and I looked at it and I said, yep, that's definitely a Counterfeit. Nintendo wouldn't be that off with their game making one of these. Now, I have seen these online, and basically the ones I've seen don't even resemble a Nintendo Classic. They were something that looked totally different, and it would have like 600 games on there, and they'd be repeated 4 or 5 times each. But this is an actual, 30 classic NES titles packed in on a console that looks very similar to an actual Nintendo Classic Edition, and if I was somebody who didn't know any better, perhaps like a small child, I wouldn't know any better. And if you're buying this for someone who didn't know any better, you'd be taking advantage of them for sure. And the fact this exists like this in this capacity, I don't agree with it. I agree with the fact that you want to create one, you should create one and change the look and the style and how it's perceived. But when you literally knock someone off and you steal their branding, I can't agree with that at all. I mean, you literally stole the branding straight off the bat. So I'm gonna mix these up, and I want you guys to tell me all right. So I'm gonna put these face to face here, and I want you guys to tell me which one is the real one, just off looking at the front face of this. So, I hope you guys chose the right one, because the top one is going to be the real Nintendo console. And right off the bat, the first thing you can look at is the 1 and the 2 on the controller ports. That would be the first indicator, and plus the Nintendo logos are a little wonky on the bottom when you compare that to the actual top console, which is the genuine, authentic one. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't agree with this type of plagiarism, I mean, trademark and copyright infringement, I mean, it's infringement nonetheless, but yeah, if you don't agree with this and you think this is bogus that they're selling these, and it's not eBay's fault, obviously. It's how are they going to know what's authentic and what's not? I mean, it's very difficult for them to know that type of information. They're just allowing the platform to exist. So don't come down on eBay or give eBay any hate, but definitely the scumbag sellers that sell these types of things, I think, are the people that definitely deserve all that energy, if you know what I mean. So if you want more content like this, subscribe. I do pickups every Thursday, and yeah, occasionally I throw in something like this that I pick up, and boy, it's unimpressive. So have a great rest of your day.